YA books have a very bad name in fantasy reading, and I personally don't understand why. Because I have with me here today some of my personal favorite fantasy books that also happen to be YA fantasy or catalogued as such. So hello my fellow fantasy book lovers and welcome to my channel. My name is Kathy and I'm a bookworm from Belgium. In today's video, I want to talk about some of my personal favorite YA fantasy books. And without further ado, let's already get into the first of them because it's also one of my recent reads. It is Silver in the Bone by Alexandra Bracken. In this book, we follow our female main character, Tamsin, who is a teenager, and her slightly older brother, Caleb. They live in a world where there is a lot of magic happening, and some people have magical abilities, some don't, and they are part of a guild. So both Caleb, the older brother, and Tamsin both work in the guild and also do side jobs out of it to gain money and to live their lives. At the start of the book, we actually get into the story with their guardian, so the person who was taking care of them, who actually abandons them during a quest that they were doing for the guild. So we know that these two main characters have some sort of history together. We don't know exactly what happens between then and now, but we jump into the story while Tamsin is trying to find out about a locket that can help heal her brother. I love this book. I love how complex it was, how much depth there was in the characters, the relationships between them, the trust and mistrust between them. The only way that you can tell that this is a YA book is because there is no sexual content in it, no in-depth relationships, etc. And the things that I personally really loved about this book is that it includes Arthurian myths. So the Arthurian mythology is brought back into this book. Somehow you will discover how once you read it. And there is a lot of dark magic going on, which I personally love in books. So if you're looking for a book that has dark magic, Arthurian myths, that goes on in a world that is similar to ours, but not entirely, then I can highly recommend Silver in the Bone. And yes, the main character is a teenage girl. No, she's not the whiny, irritating type of teenagers that I'm personally scared of. The book I'm holding up is not the book that I actually want to mention, however, it's by the same author. It is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Liani Taylor. I remember this book vividly, however, it's been a couple years since I read it and I currently do not own a physical copy of it. From what I remember from this book, I only read the first one whenever it came out, but I really want to pick it up again and read all three of the books, is that the main character was in this world with dark magical creatures and trying to help them, save them. I remember it was a very dark fantasy book, which I personally really enjoy, and that the main character was actually super alternative. So I'm not gonna go too much into details because I first want to reread the book, but I know that Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Liani Taylor was one of my favorite books whenever I was younger, so I really wanted to mention that one as well. Up next we have Bonesmith, another dark magic book. In this book we follow our main character Ren, who is doing the trials to become a bonesmith, but something unexpected happens and she is forced to quit the trials, or she doesn't complete them the way that's supposed to, and she doesn't actually get named Bonesmith. So as a punishment, she's actually sent on her first assignment, which is on an outpost of the realm that she lives in. And the outpost where she's placed is actually on the edge of the wall that protects her realm from what's outside of it. In this book, we follow our main character Ren as she discovers what is actually going on in the world, why there is an outpost, why there is this wall, and what is actually behind the wall. So of course, you get to see both sides of this magical realm. At the start of the book, we are very much immersed into the safety of everything that's behind the wall, and then as the story advances, we go to the other side and we discover what is there and how people live there, etc. And the second book to this, what I think will be a duology, is called Ghostsmith, and it's actually coming out in 2024, and I'm super excited for it. If you like dark magic, zombies, necromancers, then I think you will absolutely love this book. The main reason, in my opinion, why this is classified as young adult is because the romance is not fully explicit and not super depth out. I feel this could have been an adult fantasy book if it was a little bit more gory and a little bit more intense on the romance part, but I absolutely love it and I feel like this book needs more love. Up next we have a shorter novel. This one is by Francesca Flores. It is called The Witch and the Vampire. And in this book we follow first and foremost the vampire character. We follow two girls in their teenage years. One of them is locked up in her house and wants to try and get out. The reason why she's locked up you will discover in this book, but it's due to her being a vampire and the outside world cannot know that she's a vampire. A lot happens in this book. It is very fast-paced. I really loved the connection between the two main characters that are both female, by the way. And I feel like the main reason that this book is a YA fantasy is because in an adult fantasy, I would have expected a lot more depth, a lot more gore, and especially in the romantic relationships, a lot more happening. For this one, we just have them hold hands, admit their feelings to each other, which is a very adult move, by the way. But other than maybe kissing, not a lot happens in this book sexually, which is a good thing. But the main plot of this book was very enjoyable. And I think if you want just a standalone book that is nice to read from start to finish in a couple days, I would highly recommend it. And finally on my list, a duology that I feel should not be classified as a YA duology. It's Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. In both of these books we follow the two main characters, Iris and Roman. Some of the chapters are written from her and his point of view. In the first book we start off with them being rivals at the newspaper that they both work for, and then of course it evolves to more than that. In the first book they actually both sign up to become war reporters, first Iris and then Kit follows, and after a while they actually start to make more of a connection. I felt in the first book there is a lot of build-up of the things happening. There is a war accent, a strong war accent in the first book, and in the second book it only becomes worse. The second book was, for me personally, one of the heavier books that I've recently read. It talks a lot about war trauma, things happening during a war, things happening after a war, etc. I feel like the way that this war is talked about, even if it's a magical war, I don't feel like it's magical enough for me to not give me flashbacks to World War I, World War II documentaries that I've seen. So for me, these books were personally very heavy. And I feel also with what is going on in the world right now, we all know there's wars happening. I felt like the descriptiveness of this book was a little bit too close to home. Too close for comfort, and I prefer my fantasy reads to be way more fantasy than that. However, I still think this is a beautiful duology and I could highly recommend it to anyone who wants to try it, but be aware there is a lot of war in them. So these were my personal favorite YA fantasy books. Let me know in a comment down below what are yours, or if you've read any of these, did you like them as well? Give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and of course don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I make new videos every week and I would love to have you for every single one of them. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!